Hi y'all, my name's Chris and welcome to my RE studio. Today I'm going to be doing an instructional video for my new punch needle kit. You can find these on my website, mayuristudio.shop. That's M-A-Y-A-R-I studio.shop. Your kit includes an instructional sheet, punch needle by Lavore, and this has a threader included inside, an embroidery hoop, monk's cloth with your design already drawn on it for your kit, as well as a blank piece as well so that you can be creative and do whatever you want, yarn for your specific project, backing felt for finishing your project. Other things that you're going to need but aren't included in your kit are going to be scissors, as well as a hot glue gun, but that's an optional one. So our first step is going to be to prepare our embroidery hoop. So we're just unscrewing it, pulling the outer hoop off and setting that aside for a moment. And then you'll just leave the inner hoop down flat on your table. Then you'll grab your monk's cloth, put it over top of it. And then we'll go ahead and put that outer loop over the very top and push it down until it kind of hooks into place with the center hoop. There is a little groove inside of this hoop that kind of makes them fit together really well. Okay, so now tighten up the hoop until it's tight enough to hold your cloth, but it's still a little loose. So you can see the cloth is still very pliable. It can move a little bit. So we'll just tighten it up, and then we're gonna go ahead and flip it over and then pull the edges to tighten up your monk's cloth. We basically want our hoop with our monk's cloth in it to be so tight that it is almost like a drum. So now that you've made it all the way around the hoop and it's a little bit tighter, go ahead and tighten your embroidery hoop a bit more. And you can still see that it's getting tighter for sure, but it's just not quite there yet. So tighten up that hoop even more, and then we're gonna do the same thing again. So now our hoop is nice and tight, almost like a drum, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now that we've tightened our monk's cloth, let's go ahead and just tighten up that little screw. You can see that it is actually a screw in there, so if you have a screwdriver, you can definitely use that to get it super tight. I think that just using your fingers is just enough, but if it makes it a little bit easier on your hands. So let's go ahead and talk about your punch needle. This is the Lavore 4mm adjustable punch needle. It's got these little divots that will click into place inside of the needle, so you can adjust it to make your needle longer or shorter. And depending on how long or short your needle is, will determine how high or low your little loops, also known as piles of yarn, are. So to adjust your needle, we're going to hold on to the end, turn the base a bit until your needle loosens up and you're able to push or pull it. So to make it longer, we can push it up, and then we'll turn the needle again and push it until it locks into place. It didn't quite lock for me, so I'm going to try turning it again, then pushing it until it clicks. And to shorten your needle, we're going to do the same thing, just opposite direction. So again, hold on to the needle, turn the base, and then you can pull that needle all the way down. And then again, you'll just hold on, turn the base, and push the needle until it clicks into place. So the height of your loop pile will be about half the length of your needle from the base to the hole that's in the side. So for example, for this length of needle, your loop pile will be about that high. All right, so let's go ahead and get our punch needle threaded. So for this project, we're gonna want about a medium height for our loops. So we'll leave 3 divots sticking out the end of your punch needle. On your punch needle, there are 2 different holes at the end. There's one that goes along the side, and then there's one that goes all the way down through your needle. So to thread our needle, take your little threader, pinch the end so that you can stick it through, and we're going to put it in through the side hole, and then we want it to go all the way down through the punch needle. So I like to usually put my finger on the back side so that it doesn't go straight through, but it can actually block it to guide the threader down through the needle. So push it until it comes all the way out the other end. And now it's ready for some yarn. So for the yarn, you have these cute little skeins of yarn. There are 2 ends to your yarn, of course. So one of them you can see kind of wraps around the outside of the ball. I personally don't like using that one. I like to do a center pull, so I like to just wrap that one back up around, and then we're gonna find the center pull. So I usually just reach in one of the ends, grab a little chunk, and pull it out until you can see the end is coming out. I prefer doing a center pull because your yarn is just pulling out of the center as opposed to pulling from the outside and then causing your ball of yarn to roll all over. So now we're going to take the tail of our yarn and just put it right through that little loop on our threader. And then we'll take the other end of the threader and pull it, and it's going to pull that yarn all the way up through our needle and then out that side hole. Put your threader aside, and then usually I like to pull the yarn back a little bit so that I don't have too much at the end. So leave about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of yarn sticking out. Okay, it's finally time we get to punch needle, y'all. So exciting. All right, so you're gonna insert your punch needle into one of the little holes, and you wanna insert it so the needle is fully in there. It should be hitting the base of your punch needle. This is very important and needs to happen every single punch. And then as you can see, there's kind of that open side of the punch needle. That one needs to be facing the direction that you're going to be punching in. So if you're going around a curve or going around the corner of something, then you need to be rotating your needle so that large opening is always facing the correct direction. So we'll pull out our punch needle and drag it to our next spot. We don't want to pull the punch needle out too far, otherwise it'll pull out our last loop. And then insert it again all the way and continue on. I usually aim for the distance between each punch to be about the width of my yarn that I'm working with. So you can see it's close. It could be a little bit closer together, but it's looking pretty decent. And if we decide that we want to go back a little bit, we don't like what we've done, we messed it up, we can just pull out all of our loops. And then you just give the surface a little scratch. It'll kind of tighten up the monk's cloth so you don't have big holes in it. And then you can just go again. That's one thing I just absolutely love about this process is it's so forgiving. And if you need to pull out some loops, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to take you forever to get back where you were at. As you're punching, it's very important to make sure you have a lot of slack in your yarn. And there can't be any tension on your yarn whatsoever or your loops are gonna pull out. So you can grab your skein of yarn, pull out just a bunch of yarn, get a little pile of it, set it next to you, and keep doing that as you need to throughout your project. And then make sure that you don't accidentally put your thumb on it or it gets caught on something. If it does, it's creating some tension, and I'll show you here what happens when you do that. So if you watch my loops, you can see that they're actually not catching in there and they're getting pulled out. So if you see that happening on your project, take a look at your yarn and make sure there's not a knot in it, make sure it's not caught on anything, make sure you have enough coming out of your skein of yarn. But then super easy again, just go back and start again. As we're getting closer to this curve, make sure you're rotating your punch needle, keeping sure that that large opening is always facing which direction you want to go. So once your punch needle is inserted, then rotate it and then pull it out and go to your next loop. If you need to take a break while you're working, you can insert your punch needle and just leave it like that, and it's totally fine. But if you're wanting to see the other side, then we can go ahead and pull out our needle. So you'll pull it out just until the needle's out, catch the little piece of yarn with your finger, and just pull a lot of slack. And that way you can set your punch needle to the side, and then we can flip it over and see what's going on. So this is actually the front side of our piece. The loops are generally on the front side. As we look at them, it looks like our pile heights are very consistent, which tells me that we are inserting our needle all the way through every single time. And the spacing between each of the loops looks pretty good. It's nice and full. It's gonna fill itself out even more as we continue on. So again, generally this is the front side of your piece with the loops, but this is also your project and your art, so you can do whatever you want. Some people like these flat loops and the look of that, and you can even go back and forth. So you could do all flat loops on this side, and then you could even flip it over, start working on this side in your egg yolk and do the loops so that they're sticking out and you have kind of a multi-height effect going on. So be creative, do whatever you want. This is your piece. For this piece, I'm just gonna do it all consistent. I'm just gonna work on one side of the piece. I just like a flat coaster, and I just wanna show y'all some basics. So continuing on, I'm gonna just pull all that slack back through my needle until the needle is touching the monk's cloth again. And then we can just go ahead and keep going. Now that we're getting right next to our yoke, which is going to be a different color, we're going to go ahead and just do a nice circle around where our next color will be. Okay, so now that we're kind of reaching the end of this little outline for our yoke, we're gonna go ahead and start filling in these last 3 little gaps where our white needs to go. So insert your needle fully, rotate it, and then we're gonna go around those edges. So we can pull out our needle slightly and make sure that large opening is facing which direction we're gonna go. And then we can go around, continuing to rotate our punch needle as we're working in different directions. So we're turning it again in this little corner, continuing on, another time in this corner. So you're really just going back and forth, doing switchbacks. Once that space is already filled in, then we can just pull our punch needle out. So again, pull that punch needle, put your finger on the end so you can catch the yarn, pull out a little slack, and then you'll just cut right up next to your piece. There doesn't need to be a little tail or anything hanging out, and you can go ahead and cut any other tails as well, or you can save them all to the end, totally up to you. And now we start again to go ahead and fill in those other two spaces. So punch across. When you get to your corner, rotate your punch needle while it's inserted, and then move up and around. Now that we've finished all of the white, we're ready to switch colors. So just pull the yarn right out of your needle, and then we'll just thread in the new color. So we're gonna do this super bright color. That's gonna be our little highlight on the egg yolk. So again, to thread our needle, we pinch the end of our threader. We're gonna block our finger on the large opening, and we're gonna stick it through the small opening and all the way down into our needle until it comes out the other end. And then we'll take the end of our yarn, put it through the little loop, and then we'll take the other end of the threader and pull it so it comes up through the base and out that small hole on the side. Pull it back so you've got about 1.5 to 2 inches. And then we can go ahead and start punching our next color. As we're going along this line, it's really important to remember again that the large opening on your punch needle is always facing the direction that you're going. So we'll probably do an outline and then one row in between to fill it in. And that should be plenty for our little highlight. So right here, when we get to the end, we're gonna rotate our punch needle. Make sure that opening is facing the correct direction. Keep going. And again, just rotating at any little curve that we have. And then we'll do one row in the center to just fill in that little highlight. Perfect. And then we're gonna pull our yarn or pull our needle out, clip it, and change colors again. Now we've successfully changed our color of yarn again, threaded it into our needle, and we're continuing on. So I generally like to start by doing an outline. So we'll just go ahead and go all around, and then we're just gonna work just around our little highlight as well. Also, something that's kind of helpful with working with an embroidery hoop is that instead of turning your needle every time, you can also use your embroidery hoop and just turn that if that's helpful or easier for you. Now that we've gotten back to our little highlight, I'm going to continue and put another row of my darker yolk color in there just to make sure that there's enough contrast between my highlight and my white. And then we can kind of just work our way around our little highlight as we continue to fill in this yolk area. All right, so now that we're in this little corner, we're rotating. We're gonna go around the outside of the yoke, and then we're gonna go ahead and fill in the rest of it. Last couple of punches here, and then I actually just grabbed the yarn from the back with my finger when I pulled out the needle, and then we'll go ahead and clip that and then our other little piece of yarn that's sticking out. Now we can go ahead and pull the yarn out of our needle and put that aside, and keep your needle because we are going to tidy up all of our loops. So I usually just use the punch needle, and we can just kind of shift them into place so we can get like a nice line for our yoke, for our highlight, and then we can clip any little pieces of yarn that are sticking out too long. You can see one sitting right in the middle there, so I'll clip that in a minute. You can use your punch needle. I've seen people using tweezers as well, but this is just a normal part of the process for punch needle. So if you flip it over and things are looking a little chaotic, that is totally normal. Let's go ahead and clip that little loop that's sticking up. You can just clip it right off with your scissors. It's not going to be noticeable at all. I'm going to show you two different ways to finish your piece. So the first one is for you to hang on the wall while it's still in the embroidery hoop. But to do so, we just want to flip over our piece so that our fluffy side is on that kind of front presentation side of the embroidery hoop. So you just flip it over, put your embroidery hoop back on. We don't need to tighten this as much as we did before when we were getting it ready to punch. We basically just want it to be tight enough to take out any wrinkles that are in it, just make it look nice in the background. Now that our cloth is all tightened, you can just kind of fold in all of the excess monk's cloth. You could hot glue it down. You could cut a circle with your felt to put on the back. You could also sew it closed, but then you just hang it on your wall and it looks like this. So cute. The second way I'm showing you how to finish your piece is to make it into a coaster or table decor. So I just cut out like a nice thick border around the egg, and here I'm going in to cut it a little bit closer, maybe so it's about 1/2 inch away from our work area. And then we're gonna go around the whole piece and we're gonna cut these little slits right up to the edge, probably about, I wanna say about 1/2 inch apart from each other. Then we'll pull out our hot glue gun and we're gonna glue each of these pieces and fold them in. Definitely work with caution as we're doing the hot glue on our monk's cloth, since there are so many small little holes. Some of it can leak through and burn your fingers, so just be really careful while you're doing this. You can hot glue it a little bit. You can let it sit there for 10 seconds, something like that, to let it cool down but not quite harden, and then fold it in, and that I find is really helpful as well. After gluing and folding all of the edges in, now we're going to take our punch needle piece. We're gonna hot glue it onto a piece of felt. I usually go along the border and then just kind of do a little zigzag throughout the center of it. Take your punch needle piece and press it firmly against that felt with the glue on it, just to make sure it's really getting a full contact. I also like to flip it over, and then you can really push it down, make sure that it's going to be nice and secure. Now we're just going to cut right around our piece to cut off all of that excess felt. You'll notice after cutting off that extra felt, we do have some that's just not quite glued down, so it's a little loose. So what I do is I take my hot glue gun and I tuck it into that gap, and I put a thin line of hot glue all along that edge. And from there, we can press that felt right up against our loops, so we've got no gap left. And we'll do that around our entire piece. All right, last step, my friends. If you have any pieces of yarn that are just wild and out, we can just go ahead and snip them off. Sometimes I'll even take my scissors and just cut along the entire border to make it super crisp. But I think just a quick tidy up does just a really great job as well. And that's it, my friends. Look at this adorable little egg coaster. So cute. All right, y'all. You did such a great job today. I would love to see your final project, so please tag me on Instagram or TikTok at myaristudio.shop. If you have any additional questions, please reach out. I would love to help you be successful in your punch needling. So you can reach out to me, Chris at myaristudio.shop for my email, or reach out on Instagram or TikTok at myaristudio.shop. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you're interested in other punch needle or tufting projects, such as more coasters, wall hangings, hairpins, bags, and so much more. I'll see you soon.